Okay. So there is nobody here that attended the last class. This network is all right. So we did topic sentence in the last class, which we've talked about briefly. We talked about the
No,
position.
no,
Hmm? Someone is saying something. What's that? Hello? Someone is saying something. I hope you guys can hear me.
Topic sentence.
Can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me now? Since my network is,
Yes,
yes,
sir.
all right.
now.
So the network is somehow, and I don't know why the network was okay during my GST101. All right, let's try and do
Hmm?
something. So what I'm saying is, do we have anybody here that attended
Carrying problem.
the last class? So that I can point us to where we stopped in the last class. Oh my goodness. Please, you guys should excuse me. I have to adjust myself. Excuse me, excuse me. The noise is making it's stopping me.
3.1.
Do we have anybody in the last class? I want someone to briefly summarize what we did in the last class. So, everybody here today, this is your first time of joining the class.
Yes, sir.
That's my first
Okay.
time also.
Someone is here that was in the last class but don't want to talk. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. Let's not waste time because we don't have much time. So let me start the recording and okay, it's even on record already. So the topic sentence, which is the major thing I think we've talked about so far in this material. We've done other things, but let's start from topic sentence again. Like we've mentioned
What are
earlier, there are some things you should know about topic sentence. One of it is that it has position in your paragraph. Every paragraph has a topic sentence. When you see a piece of writing, like a newspaper article or anything, or even you yourself, you are trying to draft something, you see that your draft will be in paragraphs. Every piece or every longer piece of writing is divided into paragraphs. So one paragraph will have one idea. For
Yes,
instance, if you are to teach some people how to prepare, let's say, a goosey soup, or how to prepare a meal, you would segment each of the steps into a section, and each of those steps will be developed in one paragraph. So we're going to have, for instance, if the the beginning, which is just like when you are going to the market to source the
Afterward, I'm gonna the
raw
lecture.
material that you will need for the cooking. If that is the first thing, it means your paragraph one will be dealing with only sourcing the materials, the ingredients rather, because we're talking of soup now, the ingredients for the soup. So every idea that you want to develop, that
Okay.
you want to pass on to the people that
Okay.
want to learn
Okay.
how to cook a goosey soup from you, will
That
be
I have a
developed in
civil
one
chair.
paragraph. That person should mute him or herself, please. If you know you're on with someone, just mute yourself so that I don't stop the class.
Okay.
Each paragraph is developed with one single idea. So if you have 10 things that you want to tell me now, you are not allowed, if you want to write professionally, to write everything in one paragraph. It has to be one paragraph, one idea. And in each paragraph, we have something that we call a topic sentence. Now, we have two things involved: the topic of the paragraph and the topic sentence. And we're going to talk about the two. the topic of the paragraph now is that main idea that you want to develop in that paragraph. For instance, I want to tell you probably how to, should I use egusi soup now? Which one is, what are we actually used to in Nigeria? Or, okay, let me say I want to tell you how to make loaves, that is bread. How to make bread. And you don't know anything about it before. So I'm trying to start from identifying the ingredients that you will need to make bread. So which means my first aim is to show you the ingredients, their names, and their uses in the production of bread. My paragraph 1 will deal with what? Identification of ingredients. That is the topic of the paragraph. It means that everything I want to say in that paragraph will not exceed telling you how to identify the ingredients that you need in producing bread. So the topic of that paragraph is identification of what? Ingredients for the production of bread. But there will be one sentence in that paragraph that will show the reader of that paragraph what that paragraph is all about. That is what we call topic sentence. One single sentence that shows the topic of the paragraph. The topic of the paragraph is the broad idea that you want to develop in that paragraph, while the topic sentence is that single statement that shows that topic of the paragraph. So, for instance, if my paragraph 1 is identification of ingredients that are necessary or the required ingredients for the production of bread, and I've been talking at length showing you this is flour, this is butter, this is that, this is usage, and probably at maybe from the beginning I said that the following are the basic ingredients needed for any successful production of bread in Nigeria. That statement, that sentence is showing anyone that wants to read that paragraph that this is all we want to do in this paragraph. So that is the topic sentence. That single sentence that shows that everything I'm saying in this paragraph is based on this idea. So that is your topic sentence. And that is one we are dealing with here. So this topic sentence has locations where it can be placed when you are writing. You can decide to place it in the beginning, in the middle, and of course, at the end of a paragraph. The easiest and the most common one is placing a topic sentence in the beginning. So when the topic sentence is placed at the beginning of your paragraph, it's very easy for your reader, both you, the writer, and the reader. It's very, very easy for you guys to understand the paragraph, because right from the beginning, you've already mentioned what the paragraph is all about. For you as a writer, it helps you to now develop the topic around that statement. While for the reader, it shows or points the reader to what he or she is expecting from that paragraph. So I think we've done that. So topic sentence is different from topic of the paragraph, but the topic sentence is the one that shows the topic of the word paragraph. And of course, you can place it at the beginning, in the middle, and of course, at the end. And then the hardest one is placing it in the middle. It's very easy for you to place it in the beginning. It's somehow complex to place it at the end too. But placing it in the middle is the most complex task, because you have to have started with some things, and then you place it in the middle and end it with some things. So you have to be a professional writer in order to be able to place the topic sentence in the middle. It's not for novices or beginners. So let's leave all that and go straight to, this is just a recap. We've done all this before. Seriously, if you have been in the class before, you know. Now let me make some important statements. Reasons why, or the benefit of placing the topic sentence either at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end. What are the benefits? Because questions on this particular aspect of your materials do capture that part when they will ask you placing the topic sentence at the beginning dash. So they'll put options there, whether it helps both the reader and the writer, or it's this and that or that. So you find out. So let's start with placing it at the beginning. What is the benefit, or what is the usefulness of placing the topic sentence at the beginning? There's a statement that shows that. I'm trying to get it because it's a recap. You don't need to read everything again. We're supposed to go straight to the topic we have today, because everybody are claiming that this is their first time. So beginning a paragraph with a topic sentence helps both the writer and the reader. This is just the answer. I'm very sure, some of you will meet this question in TMA, this TMA that is starting on Monday. Most of you will meet this question there. So beginning a paragraph with a topic sentence dash, that's how they ask the question. It helps both the writer and the reader. And on the part of the reader, this is where your answer stops actually. But for you to just know the meaning of helps both the writer and the reader, we can just press further a bit. How does it help the writer? As a writer, you have less difficulty in constructing a unified paragraph because you will relate every sentence to the topic sentence, which you've already made at the beginning, and the central idea it expresses. And then for the reader, it helps you know immediately what the paragraph is all about when the topic sentence is placed at the beginning. So the topic sentence at the end, this is just a story to show you how the topic sentence can be placed at the end. And I gave us an assignment that day to place the topic sentence, I think maybe at the end or at the beginning. That was homework on that. So placing the topic sentence at the end, what does it? Sorry, we've gone far now. Sorry that I'm rushing this. We've done it before. I don't like over repeating classes. Now, placing the topic sentence at the end or in the middle is more difficult skill. But the advantage in having it at the end is that if they ask you that placing the topic sentence at the end, dash, this is the answer. All the sentences, at the end, it helps or it allows all the sentences to be built up to the topic sentence. And the conclusion becomes more effective. Please, that is the reason why that is the advantage of placing the topic sentence at the end. It helps to build up all the sentences that you make in that paragraph. The topic sentence. So it means that I would have been constructing my sentences right from the beginning of the paragraph, and then towards the end, I'll place the topic sentence that all of this thing I'll be saying is all about this. That is placing it at the end. Placing it at the beginning is that you start with the topic. You start by introducing the topic. Placing it at the end, you've already given all the explanations you want to give on that topic. Then at the end, you place it that all of this is about this and this and this. So that is how it works. But this is not what we're supposed to do today, please. And I think you've gotten one or two things from the recap. Now, developing the topic. This is where we're supposed to start from. In order to develop the central theme of a paragraph, you have to expound the idea contained in the topic sentence. This can be done by adding more information, explanations, examples, illustration, etc. Very important. This is a question in the exam. Please, I think if I'm trying to record the way they normally put the question exactly. Develop the topic. No, I think central theme or something. Okay, yes, these are normally comes. In order to develop the central theme of the paragraph, you have to expand the idea contained in the topic sentence. This can be done by dash. Adding more information, explanation, examples, and illustrations. So that is, you have to know it. that if I want to develop the topic sentence or the central theme rather of a paragraph, I will need to add some things to it. What we're saying is that once you have the topic sentence, the topic that you want to develop in the paragraph, how do you, okay, for instance, what I want to develop in this paragraph 1 is identifying the ingredients needed for production of bread. That's what I want to develop in paragraph 1. So how do I develop it? All I just need to do is start explaining that topic by adding more information to it, by mentioning the different ingredients one after the other, and maybe stating their usage or uses. And then explanation, examples, illustration. All we are just trying to say here is that we have several methods of developing a topic. You can develop a topic by addition of information. You can develop a topic by explanation. You can develop a topic by giving examples. And you can develop a topic by illustrations. Are you guys still with me? Are you still with me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So now we'll talk about those methods of developing a topic one by one. Each of them is a topic on its own. But before then, let's go to 3.3, which is the next thing we have. All of those things I'm skipping, they're just stories for you to read and understand what has been mentioned earlier. So those ones are for your personal reflection, not part of the class. Now, coherence, another important thing that you can't run away from in GST102 and also in exams and TMA. Now, what is coherence? An effective paragraph requires more than a topic sentence and supporting details. It must also be coherent. In a coherent paragraph, the writer takes the reader logically and smoothly from one idea to the next. Now, what is the work of this coherence? For instance, like I mentioned earlier, that if what I am planning to write about is how to produce bread in Nigeria, and I've assigned paragraph 1 to identification of what ingredients, I will need the idea of coherence in order to arrange my speech or that information that I want to pass logically, so that I may decide to start from the order of relevance. Like, okay, this is the most important thing you need to know about this topic, then the less important, and then the maybe unimportant ones. It's just like supporting details. So my ability to arrange the idea I want to pass to my reader logically, so that it won't be like I will mention how to get ingredients in paragraph 1, then I will jump to how to bake and come back to how to mix flour. Anybody reading that kind of info will be confused. So your ability to arrange the ideas that you want to pass to your reader or to your listener anyway, logically, so that it will be like you are find the information from, you can decide to make it like starting with the simpler ones to then going to the tougher one, or starting with the tougher one then going down to the simpler one, or starting with the most relevant one to the less important one. The way you arrange your logic, that one is your choice as the writer, or based on the audience that you want to address. But what is most important is that your piece of writing must have coherence. It must be coherent. So that, and what is the meaning of coherence now? Logically and smoothly, moving from one idea to the next. That is coherence in a paragraph. That is just the organization of your ideas. Coherence simply means the organization of your ideas, the ideas that you want to pass to your listener, or sorry, to the reader. So what else should we talk about? Transitional devices, another important thing. Now we're on unit 3.4, transitional devices. But before then, I want someone to recap on the meaning of coherence. Anybody from the class? What do you understand by coherence now? Let's not be only me going through this thing. I won't mention names. Anyone? What is the work of coherence in a paragraph? How many of us are here? We have Batu, Ibrahim, Omolola, Deleke, Grace, Akinyemi. So, anyone, what is the work of coherence? A volunteer.
Of points.
The what?
Logical arrangement of points.
Logical arrangement of points. That is very good. Means we are following. Okay, so let's move on to transitional devices. Now, transitional devices are also important, especially in the idea of coherence. You can't arrange your ideas logically without using transitional devices. I just want us to know that. And these transitional devices we're talking about are things you already know. You are used to them. You even yourself in your day-to-day talking and writing, you use them jokingly and you take them as just normal part of your writing or your speech. So let's look at it. Another technique which brings coherence in a paragraph is the use of transitional devices between sentences. These are words or phrases that help a writer to move smoothly from one sentence to the next and show the logical relationship between sentences. In case you are asked in exam or in theory that are words to phrases that help a writer move smoothly from one sentence to the next and show the logical relationship between them. What are those things? The words or phrases.
Transitional devices.
Good. Transitional devices. Now, we shall give you an example of what these transitional devices are and how they can be used. The transitional devices in example 4 are printed in bold type. Now, although this material did not print them in bold, but we'll point them out. Man has been able to spread across the earth so widely for 4 main reasons. Firstly, this is a transitional device. This is my introduction, but I want to move from my introduction to my main point or the main point of the paragraph. I need something to transmit from, or is this translate rather, to translate from the introduction part to the main body part. What I'll use here, like in this case, they use firstly, which means firstly is an example of transitional device. You use it to transit from the introduction to the main body. So you can see them, firstly, secondly, moreover. Can you see now? We have most important of all. Look at it. You can go through this on your own to bring them out. We have several transitional devices. You use them yourself. However, furthermore, in view of this, as soon as in conclusion, in continuation, all those are transitional devices. You are using them to move from one aspect of the paragraph to another, from one sentence to another, in order to have logical arrangement of those sentences. So that is the work of transitional device. It's obvious that you can't even have coherence in your yes, you can have coherence, but one of the ways in which you can bring out the coherence in your piece of writing is using transitional devices. Now, it is important for us to go through this because they ask questions on this. We ask which of the following is used to express result. This is a common TMA question. So they will put some of them there, and the one they normally put in the option that is correct is what? Consequently. This consequently is the one that they normally put as the correct answer. both in TMA and in exam, you normally see that question. So now let's talk about transitional devices and what they're used for. We have the ones that we use for expressing results in your piece of writing. Like therefore, once you use therefore, it means you've been saying something before. Now you want to conclude with the result. As a result, that shows result too. Consequently, thus, before I will use thus in my speaking or in my writing, I must have been saying something before, and now I want to kind of validate the result. Hence, is also used to show result. If you don't remember any other transitional devices that is used to show result, remember consequently. Very important. Now, the one that we use for giving examples, we have, for example, for instance, specifically as an illustration. When you see all this, they're used to show examples. For examples, for instance, specifically as an illustration, you want to give examples. Now, for comparison, similarly, likewise, those ones are for comparison. And I think they normally ask question on that. What for contrast? We're trying to contrast between two things. But yet, still, however, nevertheless, on the other hand, you are contrasting between two ideas in your piece of writing. To add more details to what you've said earlier on, those are for addition. You use moreover, furthermore, that's the most common one. Also, besides, in addition, we use that for, also we use those for expressing addition. Now for time, and they normally ask question on this time too. You hear transitional devices like now, let us begin. You see, now you're trying to show time. Later, meanwhile, since then, after that, before that time, all those shows time in your piece of writing. Now for sequence, those are the ones we have for first, secondly, thirdly, fourthly, so on and so forth. Then next, finally, they all show sequence. That means arrangement, orderly arrangement, orderliness in your piece of writing. So, what can we test ourselves on this? Okay, I need someone else to explain to us the uses. Someone should explain to us what we use transitional devices for in piece of writing or in a paragraph. Work of transitional devices in the paragraph. One, work of transitional devices in the paragraph. Nobody. These ones they've turned the class to noise making class. Someone should explain the use of transitional devices in a paragraph. You just tell us this is what we use transitional devices to do in a paragraph. Yes? Anyone? If you guys don't talk, this is where we end the class. We'll keep looking at ourselves like this. It is what we just done now. That was the last thing I talked about.
It is used to move from one sentence to another.
To move from one point.
From one sentence to another.
Relationship. No.
From one point to another. Okay, you guys have the idea.
One relationship of one sentence to another.
Yes, use it to transit from one sentence to another, move from one sentence to another, move from one point to another. All right. So that means we get the idea. So the next thing we are going into is development of paragraphs using illustration and description. Don't forget, the first thing we started with today is developing the topic. And we said that we have several means of developing the topic. You can develop it by adding more details, more information rather. You can develop it by using illustration, by giving examples, and so on. Now we want to talk about paragraph on its own. Don't forget that from the beginning of this material, we mentioned something that every longer pieces of writing or every longer piece of writing is divided into paragraphs. When the article you want to write is a long one, you cannot write everything on a straight line, as in just everything together in one paragraph. You have to divide it into paragraph, and it is one paragraph, one idea. If you don't remember anything under paragraph, remember that one. No paragraph is to carry two ideas. One paragraph, one idea. So now we'll be talking about paragraph. Like in the first slide, I made an is it analogy we are going to see or something, that paragraphs, let's consider a building. The whole story that you want to write or article is like a building. Paragraphs are blocks that you join together to form a complete building. So each of the block is very important. So now I want to talk about how I can develop my block. And that block is what I use for the building. So how do we develop paragraphs? We have several ways and methods, but the first set of methods we are going to talk about is that of the illustration and description. When I want to develop an idea in a paragraph, then I use illustration. How do I do that? Or I want to develop an idea in a paragraph, then I use description to talk about it. So how do I do that? Now, let's move on. I know we don't have time again. We have 5 minutes. But let's see if you can talk about illustration. In this unit, I'm here now. In this unit, we shall help you to develop different kinds of paragraphs. Paragraphs can be developed in a number of ways, depending on your purpose, the topic, and the kind of reader you have in view. Now, what determines the method of paragraph development you adopt? What are those things that determine the type of method you have to adopt when you want to develop a paragraph? One, we have the purpose of that piece of writing that you want to develop, the purpose of the idea, the topic that you want to develop. Number three, the kind of reader that will read what you are trying to develop. How to get those 3 points: the purpose, the topic, and the reader. That's what determines the type of method you will choose when you want to develop your paragraph. You cannot just want to write a paragraph and just decide that I will use illustration, or no, I will use examples, or no, I will use description. You have to put 3 things in view: the purpose of the paragraph, the topic you want to develop in the paragraph, and the reader. There are some topics that are argumentative topics, like you have to compare 2 things, like you have to cite one side, or oppose the other side. So those kind of topics, you cannot just decide to use description to talk about them. So that is why they say the topic will determine. Of course, your reader will also determine, and then the purpose. So that is on that. Now, the different methods of paragraph development can be considered in terms of 2 broad categories. We have several methods of developing the paragraph, but we can summarize all those methods under 2 categories. What are those 2 categories? One, those who stay strictly within the scope of the topic, e.g., illustration, descriptions, definition, as well as cause and effect, and those techniques which involve a second topic, e.g., comparison and contrast. So, of all the different types of methods of developing the paragraph we have, you can categorize them under 2 broad categories. One, those that stay within the scope of the topic you are treating, and then those that involve adding some extra topic to it. But your concern now is we're talking about how to develop a paragraph using illustration, descriptions, definitions, cause and effect, and then comparison and contrast. And that is what we will start with in the next. We will treat all of them in the next class. How to develop a paragraph using illustration, using description, using definition, using cause and effect. But let me just talk about them superficially before the class ends. You know, when, for instance, if your topic is that bread production, and you decide to use paragraph 1 for the definition of the topic, if you want to define terms in the paragraph, the idea or the method you will use will be that of definition. So you are defining, okay, now let's start with the definition of terms. What do we mean by production? What do we mean by bread? What do we mean by ingredients? So now you start talking about them like that, you define each of the terms that are involved in the topic. What you are doing in that paragraph, you are developing the paragraph using definition. You can develop a paragraph using illustration. That's by giving examples of, for instance, you want to talk about maybe the method of doing something. You are now illustrating using examples of previous knowledge from that. The illustration don't have to be from that same topic. You can borrow from any other thing that has happened before related to that topic. So you use it to illustrate the topic, and of course, definition being precise and exact with words, what each of the words means. Cause and effect. If this happen, then this will happen. When you have a kind of topic like that, that has to show people that there is a kind of action and reaction, what to do and the repercussion. It has to be cause and effect you will use to develop it. And of course, you can compare and contrast. I'm not even sure we have time for asking questions, but this class will end now because we have less than 1 minute. But if you have any question, drop it in the group. I'm going to drop the classwork in the group too. Try to do it just to refresh your brain on what we've done in this class.